Had us a little bit of technical difficulties there. Had to get the channel switched over here, but we are live now with the Mrs. Goody's Grand National Series live from Talladega. Sometimes live TV doesn't work quite the way you want it to, and we got it figured out. Kudos to Rish on the quick fix there. That might have taken me a lot longer to fix, for sure.
Yeah, sometimes software doesn't obey us when we ask it to do certain stuff, so it was saved in the wrong preset. So if you guys do want to see our brief pre-race show, it's probably up on the IndyCar race that was scheduled for this coming Friday. But oh well, we are back, and race hasn't started yet, so you folks at home have not missed a thing. We're getting ready to get rolling here for the final race of this first round of the chase of the Miss Goodies Grand National Series. No RC Anderson tonight, and it is Talladega, so it's pretty much an open book in terms of who could walk away with the win tonight.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see real quick. I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsors, everybody at Mrs. Goodies. They have hooded towels, handmade items for babies, kids, you and your home. You can find them on Facebook today. TA Services, for over 36 years, TA Service has been a trusted domestic and international full-service third-party logistics provider offering freight brokerage, managed transportation, warehousing fulfillment, and cross-border logistics services to shippers around the globe. Blue Egg Marketing, the marketing department for small business, and BritzyCam. They are a venture-backed tech company based in Toronto and Boston, and they are on a mission to reimagine the group photo experience. And, of course, Chad and everybody here at Elite, from Rish to Dave to everybody who helps get these broadcasts going. Even with the little hiccup, it's still great production. Great job from everybody here at the network. And we are about ready to go green from Talladega. Green is out. David Carpenter with a push from Scott Crump, who won the truck race last night in Las Vegas. And Tyler Fody with a push from Dustin Dewar on the top side.
So here we go. This is the great thing about these these Grand National Series cars is that they're going to start 2x2, but they're also going to run 2x2 in theory all race long. These guys can race so well with each other in these cars, and we're going to see a lot of shuffling back and forth for positions. Right now, it was initial advantage for that inside line for that pole sitter, David Carpenter. But look at this, Tyler Fody with the support of, is that Dustin Dewar on the outside? Yeah, it is. Pushing him to the front, and now all of a sudden that 40 car almost clear of the 71, but pretty evenly matched between these two lanes so far.
Yeah, and like you said, these guys can run 2 and 3 wide all race long if they wanted to, if they so chose to. But I can tell you as a driver in one of these things, at the start you'll race like this, but at some point in the middle you're going to be like, let's just be calm for a little bit. But you best believe that when they calm down, it's because they chose to, not because they can't race.
Oh, absolutely. And we already see some drivers going up and maybe looking to make it 3 wide a little bit further back here. How about this? That's the 18 of Joshua Personette. And he's always come alive, really, at these super speedway tracks. These are some of his favorite tracks on the calendar. Look at this, leading a third lane already. And look at the momentum that they've got down the back straightaway. He's going to shoot all the way up the order here with the support.
Yeah, but we're going to run into a problem in this third lane. Someone started in the pits instead of gridding up, and they are going to catch him here off of 4.
Yeah, good catch there. Who is that? Is that Trevor Elam? It is. So Trevor Elam in that 29 car all of a sudden is going to have to force this third lane in, and almost contact there between, I think that was Rusty Capel, or excuse me, Jay Kanar, and Latham Joyner, I think, almost coming together there in the third and second lanes.
So chalk that up 2 laps it took them to get 4 wide.
That's absolutely crazy here. And, of course, Talladega wider than Daytona, so you see these guys running 3 wide, and it doesn't even look that cramped out on the racetrack. At Daytona, it would start to get pretty tight amongst all these guys, but this is what Talladega's designed for. It's even more wide-open racing than you'd ever get down in Daytona Beach. So, yeah, this is just incredible right now. 3 wide here, though, already on lap number 3 of this event. This is just craziness from these guys. And, again, early movers moving forward. That is Latham Joyner trying to lead that top lane forward.
Yeah, Latham jumped up there in front of Joshua Personette, and then the lane kind of fell apart. I think they were content to push Personette, but then they were like, yeah, let's bail out of here. They've got Latham out there by himself now. I'm curious to see if after Weeks and Tate get around them, if they pull back to the top. As we've got Dustin Dewar just jumped out in front.
Yeah, Dustin Dewar leads the way right now, and actually a little bit of damage on the bumper of the 32. Not sure if that's just on our end from a bump draft, that he's received. But how about this? It is Dustin Dewar, then you got Chad Thornquist, Tyler Fode all on the bottom line, then Jay Kaner.
Here goes that third lane again. They pulled all of them pulled out when they all got around Latham.
Yeah, this is interesting here. And now, does Kane or does Stanley Personette, do they kind of get sucked into a bit of a bubble here in the middle? There's kind of enough cars, I think, still on this middle line. They're spread out right now, but still able to maintain pace with the bottom lane and even this outside lane that's starting to gain on them.
Yeah, it's very interesting here. The side draft really does nothing in these Xfinity cars, and if this was the Cup race that we're going to have on Wednesday, you would not want to be in the middle. Once you get in the middle in the Cup car, you go backwards. So you better make sure you're going to get clear. It looks like Chad Thornquist he's had enough. He said 3 wide, 4 wide, we're done.
Yeah, so you're going to see that quite a bit here tonight, I'm sure, is drivers just deciding that things are getting a little bit too hectic for them at that point in the race. They'll take that call to dive down off the main racing line, let everybody go back, and make sure that they can at least still hang on to the lead pack draft, because if you lose this lead pack draft, your day is possibly over. I mean, it's so unbelievably, it's unbelievable how quickly you can lose that draft and how much pace you lose by getting out there. But look how disorganized this is as they cross the start-finish line. Guys scrambling right now to pick their lanes through the trial and then finally settling into some kind of order into turn number 1.
Yeah, I think what we saw there is David Westergreen and Tyler Fode being teammates. Tyler pulled out there, got up into the middle to get a push from his teammate there, somebody he feels like could be loyal to him. And real quick, while we're talking about Westergreen, this is going to be his last race in Elite for this season and maybe for quite some time. It looks like he is going to take a break from at least Elite. I don't know if all of iRacing is going to get left behind for a little while or just Elite, but this is his last start.
Yeah, Westergreen's been around for a while here in the Elite Racing League, so it'll be a shame to see him go. But again, another one of those drivers who I think really comes to life on these super speedways. Just has a really good knack for finding his way towards the front of the pack, and we're seeing this right now as he's running P3 right now, up 10 from his starting position of 13th.
Yeah, right there with his teammate. Like I said, him and Fode trying to work together to get something going here, working against Jay and the 9 there on the bottom. As the third lane is completely evaporated, it looks like everybody's down on the bottom 2 lanes for now.
It's kind of 2x2 here, all the way back to kind of the first bit of single file we get is Trey Holmes, but then even he lines up side by side now with Garrison Hogan. And then once you're kind of this far back, you kind of start to see guys more or less settle into the bottom lane. But again, guys get closer to this lead pack, and all of a sudden they line back up 2x2, and it's pretty impressive to see just how deep this field goes with guys running alongside each other.
Yeah, and a lot of different strategies. This being a playoff race, this being a cut race. Like, there's some playoff guys out here who are just going to choose not to be in this. They're going to choose to ride around and not be caught up in the wreck, and they're just trying to survive to the next round. There's some guys maybe who are so far out that they're just like, you know what, let's go and try to win this thing. And then you've got everybody else who doesn't care about the playoffs. They're just out here racing, and they're like, let's go race. We have no playoffs on the line, nothing to lose. Let's go out here, be aggressive, and get to the front.
How about this from Jonathan Cutlip, who's, I don't believe, one of our full-time drivers either. But going and leading this outside lane, and guys are happy to support him. There you see Matthew Weeks behind him, Andrew Rucker, Trey Holmes, all lining up, and here we go. It's going to be very close as we go across the line. Which lane's going to be in front? It does look like that top lane ekes out ahead.
Yeah, got some great pushers there with Matthew Weeks.
Contact.
Oh, we're wrecking. It's Tyler Fode. If this meant, it's going to be the 71. No caution. Oh, we got a caution.
There we go. First caution of the night. That makes sense. And a couple of guys having to dive to the grass to avoid it. But it looks like Fode almost got cut off there. We'll have to obviously check the Whiskey Cast replay. But, yeah, that was an interesting situation there heading through turns 1 and 2 where it looks like a couple of drivers just ran out of real estate.
Oh, yeah, it looks like the 11 gets clear, but the 64 turns down with him and just bodies the 40.
Not too sure. Andrew Rucker there in the 64 car.
The 9 gets a piece of that. The
71.
92, so that's the 9, the 92, the 40. Like you said, 71. That's our pole sitter. Scott Crump, great job. Scott's in the playoffs. That was a huge miss for Scott Crump.
Absolutely there for the 90 car. No damage on that one. Let's see if we can get another angle of that contact between Fody and Rucker that kind of kicked it all off. Did Rucker potentially get loose there or just turn down? A little bit confused as to how that played out. Look and see.
Yeah, now I can tell you as a driver, when you're pushing that 11, you're committed to that 11, and you kind of get tunnel vision. That 11 starts to go left, and you just don't even you block everything else out. And Rucker just started moving down with the 11, and I mean that's something you see quite often here in plate racing, and something I've done and everybody else has done. You know, you just got to learn to realize that you're still 3 wide. That 11, you know, he's a little bit further up the track than you.
Absolutely, and so back to live pictures as drivers come down pit road, and it looks like more or less everybody's going to take that call to pit, at least drivers on the lead lap. I think we just saw a lap down car take that wave around.
Yeah, I wonder if this maybe puts them in a spot to make it on one more stop. That's why everybody's pitting.
That could make a ton of sense here. So now it's the race on and off of pit road. What are guys going to do? Here you see Cutlip. Looks like he should win this race off pit road, and he does. Matthew Weeks, Jari Brubaker up a number of spots there. Actually, Jari, I think, might have missed his pit box. So 24 may have to come back down. Then Latham Joyner, Dustin Dewar, and we kind of get back to the rest of this group that was running up front.
So we had Tyler Fody involved in that wreck. He is a playoff driver, but he came in tonight 40 behind the leader RC NP3.
Let's take a look at the points as they stand right now. Tyler Fody, 27 above the cut line. Heading into this race, he'll obviously lose quite a bit of that buffer here tonight, but I mean, with only 36 drivers taking part, I mean, you know, you'd imagine Tyler Fody, if he's able to get that car back up and running and at least somewhat competitive on the lead lap, just being able to hang on there, he should be okay to advance. But obviously a little bit more stress tonight than Tyler Fody would like to advance onto that next round.
Yeah, and I can tell you by looking at that nose, that's some pretty substantial damage there on the nose. He's hoping he can stay in the draft.
Yeah, we'll see here as this is where Tyler Fody is right now on the racetrack. Where is Jonathan Cutlip? Looks like just now in turns 3 and 4. So Fody has a little bit more time here. That's the nice thing about Talladega being so big is while the hits are bigger, you do get quite a bit more time under cautions to get those fixes done without going down a lap. So Fody might be able to get away with a reasonable amount of damage limitation there while staying on the lead lap.
Yeah, and he's, what did you say, 27 above the cut line?
27 coming into this one. So, yeah, he's currently running 36 back out on the racetrack now. So the 40 car is running. Hope that the radiator isn't damaged at all, because the last thing you want to see at a track like this is that water temperature starting to spike. But, of course, also aerodynamically, can he even hang on to the draft? Like you said, that's a lot of damage to that nose.
And the good thing is, yeah, that might be 27th, and you might think, oh, if he finishes worse than 27th, he won't make it. But that's if those other guys win, have a great night. If they fit, they basically still have to finish in the top 10. You still have to race and get a great finish to pass him at this point from 27 points back. And it's Talladega. As long as Fody isn't, we probably are going to see a 10 or 15 car wreck at some point tonight.
Yeah, you just got to hope that if you're Fody, you just got to hope that you're not in that 10 or 15 car wreck when it happens. To just add insult to injury, but yeah, no, absolutely, it's far from over for the 40 car. In fact, he probably still has relatively favorable odds to make it on, but again, possibly just a little bit more concern than he might have started tonight with.
Yeah, and that's one of those situations where maybe if I was Fody in that spot, being so far above the cut, I might have rode around a little bit and made sure I had a clean car for the end. With a big buffer like that, there's really not a whole lot of reason to be racing at the front in the middle of some of that 2 and 3 wide.
Yeah, but we know Fody. Fody likes to lead laps at super speedways. I don't know if I've ever seen that 40 car opt to dive down to the bottom of the racetrack and stay out of it for some time. That's one of those things we love about Tyler, is if he can lead laps, he's going to try and do that.
Yeah, and that strategy works more often than not. You know, him and Josh Adams isn't here tonight, but that's one of his ways to go about it too. Josh has told me many times, if I'm racing, I'm going to try to run at the front and lead every lap because that's where you're going to win the race from. Now, is that always true? No. But a lot of times, if you're at the front, those guys see you at the front. They know that you're willing to make those moves. They might work with you at the end over somebody else.
Absolutely, it's really all about making friends up until those last few laps, and hoping that one of those people that you worked with throughout the night decides to support you at least for a moment, and then it's every man for themselves as they drive down towards the start-finish line.
And one thing I will say, I talk about riding in this race tonight, but on Wednesday in the Cup race, I don't know that you'll want to ride. Track position is very important in that Cup car. You cannot just go from 20th to having a shot to win in 10 laps in that Cup car.
Absolutely. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Make sure you folks at home are subscribed here to the Elite Racing Network on YouTube, because you're going to be able to watch that Cup race and all of the championship races that are coming up here across the Elite Racing Leagues. But we're back to Green Flag Racing here with Cutlip and Weeks going side by side into turn number 1.
Yeah, no real help there. Their help is way behind them.
Is that catching somebody off guard? You know, did Joyner get caught off guard there, or is that just part of the plan almost? Is everybody kind of settle in and then you'll kind of bunch up coming out of turn 2 like they are now?
I don't know if it's so much catching them off guard. With the restart zone, you can kind of know when that guy's going to go, but sometimes as a leader, you might tell that guy, hey, I'm going at this point, because you want the help. You don't want to get a great restart away from somebody here like you do at some other tracks. As you can see, he's already lost the lead because of that.
Ooh, here we go. Scott Crump looking to take away the lead on that top lane, and he does. He's going to try and use that push that he gets from Cutlip and Weeks on top to try and get past Dustin Durer and Latham Joyner on the bottom, and top lane with all the momentum now. Durer leads that lap, but here we go. Through turns 1 and 2, expect to see that nose ahead on the 90, and it is.
Yeah, great push there on the top. Latham not even connected to Dewar at this point.
Just better
and up top, we've got a bunch of cars that are just committed to pushing each other here.
How's the push in this Grand National Series car versus like the Cup car or the trucks? How much easier are they or harder are they to really lock into somebody else's bumper?
The Xfinity car, I mean, as long as you square up with somebody, you can pound them. I mean, you can absolutely just drive through somebody, basically.
That's what you love to hear here at these types of racetracks. I know the Cup car, especially in its latest guys, can be a little bit finicky for drivers. So, I've heard that a number of times, especially back in 500. And then good to see here. You can kind of see these guys squared up nicely on each other and not afraid to stay very close to each other's bumpers.
Yeah, we've learned a lot about that Cup car over the season and how it takes a bump. The Cup car, it has a new physics model with the side draft. As we're going to go 3 wide here, they're going to try to hang Scott Crump out in the middle.
Yeah, wow, look at this. Everybody deciding to bail out Scott Crump, at least those first 3 cars, but then David Westergreen decides to hang on there. The sport of, I think was that Jesse Razimus in the 70.
Johnny Thomas right behind him there in the belly-up sports machine.
Absolutely. So all of a sudden back to 3 wide. But it's advantage bottom lane as that middle lane split out into a middle and top. So right now, guys starting to get more and more organized, and we're starting to see them fight back here against this bottom.
Yeah, this is 3 wide all the way through right here. If you're Tyler Fody, it looks like he's barely hanging on to this draft right now. It's a struggle for that 40 machine. He is hoping to see a wreck here.
Absolutely. Tyler Fody right now just trying to stay close. He has Cody Harrington right behind him. Cody doing a nice job at least hanging behind the 40 car for now. But you can see right there is, despite all of that real estate, Tyler Fody not really able to close in on the bumper of Michael Hossack, and that kind of tells you, that should be easy for that 40 car in its in a perfect guise to close in and even slingshot past the 42. But there is not really much straight line speed right now for Tyler Fody. So hanging on while he can, but we'll see if he's able to continue to do that over the course of the night.
Yeah, for Tyler Fody, this is not ideal. Cody Harrington though, he's trying to take an opportunity to maybe get on a team for next year. He's like, hey, I helped this Fody guy out. He runs pretty well. Maybe I'll get some help next season and moving forward. Maybe the rest of this season, choosing to be a good soldier for a guy that maybe he doesn't know very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly doesn't hurt to make friends at a track like this.
That top lane has kind of died out, though, as we see here. Those first three that pulled out are now to the back of that lead line on the top side.
Looking at this 03 car here of Latham Joyner, seems to be just trying to cut it very tight on the bottom lane. I've seen a couple of times where that left front tire is dipped below the yellow line. He almost got very close this time by, but I worry that it may be just getting a little bit too aggressive, and it's probably pretty easy once you get that tire on the apron to lose it around this track. Right now hanging on, but I've seen a couple of times where I've seen that tire dip below, and that's got to make you a little bit nervous if you're both the guy in front, but especially the guys right behind him.
Yeah, you don't want to be on the apron anywhere. Oh, we've got a big checkup here in the lead draft going down the back. That's going to work its way back there. It split the pack up just a hair.
A big fanning out here of drivers as they deal with the checkup. Not quite sure where it started.
Yeah, I have no idea where it started either. I just saw some guys back off all of a sudden. One guy drove down to the... I thought for a second they might have been wrecking.
Just a bit of disorganization. It's kind of spread itself back towards the front, at least momentarily. But now all of a sudden everybody back 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. And it's almost like it didn't happen, even though it was just about half a lap ago. It's just how quickly things can change here at Talladega.
Yeah, these Xfinity cars cut such a hole in the air that, I mean, they're just... This package here with the Xfinity car on iRacing the way it is, you get big runs. That's why you see the third lane able to work. The runs are huge. The cars overheat pretty quick, too, if you start shoving. And all that gives the ability to the other lanes to work pretty evenly.
Now, are tandem drafts really possible with this car, or because of that overheating issue, it's not really possible to get around, a number of other cars with just two?
Yeah, tandem will never work again unless it's better on the swap. It takes so long to swap, you lose so much momentum, and you can't tandem hard enough to pull away more than a few car lengths. For the tandem to work, you'd have to be able to not lose as much momentum when you swap. These cars lose so much momentum when you quit shoving.
Of course, yeah. All of a sudden, all that air dumping on your spoilers suddenly, I'm sure, definitely slows you down. So,
and I don't think iRacing wants that either. I think they kind of designed the way these cars draft with that in mind. Were you around when we were doing that, Rich?
I was around. I think was that the first version of the Next Gen Cup car that had that? That could tandem like crazy?
You could do it a little bit when the Next Gen first came out, but nothing like you used to be able to do it back when the COT was out and whatnot there. And it was... Oh, we've got the 44.
Ooh, what
the 64. We're going to turn. We got Josh Robin. We got Rucker.
There's your potential.
Tate Lytle, the 9, the 40. Tyler Fody just drove into it late.
Tyler, oh man. All right, we're gonna have to hop back. It looks like it started with the 44 of Michael Goodman, didn't it? Starting to get loose, kind of in the middle, and that kind of kicked off the chain reaction, and then the 64 going around too. Caught up everybody else in this incident. But let's start with Michael Goodman. And probably follow Andrew Rucker right after that. But here we go. Watch that orange 44 in the middle of the pack. Just kind of doesn't really get any contact. It just kind of gets a little bit loose, catches 64, and Goodman goes on forward, but the entire crash instead happens behind.
Yeah, you got the 6, the 8, the 64, the 2. pretty hard damage. The 9 with hard damage. Brandon Ultra gets hard damage. And then really super late in the wreck, Fody comes into it as well and gets more damage.
Car upside down. We didn't see that. That's the 8 car. You got the 6 going around 64-2. Any other chasers involved in this one? Looks like it might have actually been just the 40. You see there's the 9 car of Jay Kaner. Gets a pretty hard lick. Sends him into, ooh, that is a chaser, isn't it? The 45 of Brandon Ultra, like you said. Gets some solid contact in Tyler Fody. Yeah, late to the scene, but hard contact again, completely ripping away that front bumper on that 40.
Yeah, but the good thing for him is a lot of guys just got wrecked there.
Yeah, I guess so.
I just really don't know what he was thinking. You know, I don't want to call out Tyler Fody because he's a pretty good driver, pretty smart guy, but to come in that late, you have to wonder what he was thinking.
Yeah, well, let's watch on board here with Tyler Fody, see if there really was much more he could do, or if it was a situation of just of too much going on for the 40 car. But yeah, tons of room. You can start to see it happening up ahead, and at this point, you should be on the brakes, and he is.
Yeah, but he was way later to the brakes than these other guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler Fody's got to be smarter than that. He is smarter than that.
Caught on the grass, and I think just lost the ability to slow that car down. Yeah, Fody, a rare mistake that you don't often see from driving the number 40 car, but back on pit road there, and once again, not great looking for his night tonight. Currently running P28 though, so still very much in the battle to stay in. And but how about this, Michael Hossack staying out on the racetrack. The only driver to stay out on the racetrack, trying to pick up that lap-led point. He's one of those guys on the outside looking in this chase picture. And if we go back to those points, what does that situation look like for him? It's actually it says he's on the outside looking in. I think he's technically on the inside heading into this race, but tied with Wyatt Knadel heading into this one. So yeah, right on the cut line. I'm sure he'd love to put a win together to get him into that next round of 9.
Yeah, he's playing for every point you can get, so this is probably a good strategy call by him. And looking here, Tate Lytle was also, you know, he was just 4 points in front of Tyler Fody. So our second and third place point guys, they are damaged beyond able to keep up in this pack. So they are hoping nothing crazy happens here towards the end of this thing, so they can both advance through.
There you can see the quarter panel damage on the 2 car of Tate Lytle. And we'll move back. Tyler Fody back out on the racetrack, but in a modified effectively. But I mean, yeah, geez, look at that car. It's gonna be tough to keep up with the draft in that for sure. I think if you're Fody, you just gotta, I mean, try your best to stay on the lead lap and just keep the car running over the course of this race. I think you do that, and you know, you are going to stay out ahead of the likes of, you know, Jay Kaner, Josh Smith, Tate Lytle, even who's behind him right now. And then the guys who are totally out of it by the looks, Zach Evans, Josh Robin, Andrew Rucker, all of them, their nights are totally over. Kaner, Smith, and Lytle currently trying to get back out on the racetrack, but still sitting on pit road.
Yeah, this is all of a sudden, you know, second and third place in points, 2 championship favorites are sitting here and just hoping that they can make it.
Yeah, that's the effect of this round, though. It really always is the wild card round, the way we open up the chase. You kind of get your standard racetrack out of the way typically, but then you have a road course and a super speedway back-to-back, and we do that in all the series that we run, at least in Cup and Xfinity. And the point is to just kind of add a little bit of spice there. I'm sure the guys who are fighting for the championship don't love it. We love it as viewers. It keeps things very interesting all the way to the end. But I'm sure it gives these guys again a lot of heartburn to think about. You know, Lime Rock Park. I'm sure was very tricky in these cars, and then to come to Talladega and not really know, especially for those guys close to the cut line, what your night is going to turn out like. It's a tough couple of weeks for these guys who are fighting for a championship.
Yeah, and the cut line, like I said, is getting tighter. You know, all of a sudden, if you're Ethan Stanley, Scott Crump, Latham Joyner, Chad, you know, maybe Chad, not quite Chad, but Latham, Ethan, and Scott know man, if we just solidly have a solid race, we got nothing to worry about. And depending on what happens, Chad can feel better if we get one more wreck with more people. But Gerald, Michael Hosack, Wyatt, these guys all are looking around thinking, those two guys up in front of us are falling down. We just need to be solid.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be exciting to see. And then, of course, you also have the guys like Trevor Elam, and possibly Brandon Ultra as well, who are kind of in they have to have a great race. So they're going to be extra aggressive to get forward here in this race. And Elam right now sits 25th, just ahead of Fody. I don't know if that 29 has any damage. It doesn't quite look like it. But he also did start from pit road, so this might be the first time he's back on the lead lap. And then Ultra, we saw, was involved in that initial incident, this one that caused this current caution as we're back to green flag racing, and there is probably damage on that 45. He's slow to restart.
Oh yeah, that 45's got some damage. I don't know. We'll have to find out if it's going to be bad enough to keep him from keeping up. But I have zero doubt Tyler Fody will not keep up. Although he's got help, that 66, he is working hard for Tyler Fody right now.
Yeah, back with Cody Harrington right behind him. So Fody has found a friend at the back of the pack. And, yeah, they could stick together there. Cody Harrington doing a huge favor for currently the driver, third place in the championship standings, at least heading into this one. Meanwhile, back up front, Ethan Stanley takes over the lead.
Yeah, I think if Fody's able to advance out of this round, and it's by just a few points, he might send a thank you note there to Cody and maybe a few bucks, right?
Oh yeah, that was very close there. Latham Joyner trying to get up into that third lane ahead of Trey Holmes, but was never clear. Instead, Cutlip, though, takes over that outside lane, and you can see why Latham Joyner probably wanted to get up there, because Cutlip gets past, and they had some momentum down the back straightaway, but starting to drop back just a little bit as they're not getting that push from Joshua Personette anymore. But how about this? Trevor Elam slingshotting all the way around the outside, and he's now up into 12th position and 4th place on that outside line.
Yeah, and the racing at the front. I mean, we are still 3x3 up here right at the very front.
This is just some absolutely incredible racing here by all of these drivers. This is hugely impressive, and a reminder that on lap 38, we will have a halfway point awarded, so drivers will get even more aggressive towards then. I don't know if we're going to see maybe a little bit of a lull in the action between now and then, or if it's just going to be straight up aggression for the next 11 laps.
Yeah, going for that playoff point, some of these guys, Tyler Fody just needs a handful more spots, and he'll be all right. I don't know if Tate is going to be able to get out here and run some more. If Tate can get out here and run, that would be huge for him to be able to, every point will matter here for Tate. Side by side here at the front. Back to double wide, though, is that we are catching a lap car here. I'm not sure who it is.
Looks like probably, who is that? Is that Jay Kaner, Yari Brubaker, maybe? Might be Brubaker.
Oh, and the 6-lap down rule is in effect, so as these guys go 6 laps down, they will be done. So Tate Lytle is going to be done here.
Oh, wow.
There's no shot.
Over. So 32nd is where that number 2 car will finish this race. Okay. All of a sudden, that makes you a little nervous, I'm sure, if you're the number 2. Again, it's not a guarantee that you're out, but it's also not the most favorable position to be in.
I've actually got Tate Lytle scored in 33rd here.
Ooh.
Josh Smith is currently credited in front of him.
Interesting.
Based on what I'm looking at.
I think it might even go off of where they are on pit road, but yeah, you could be right there. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see what timing and scoring looks like as, big checkup on that outside lane with Dustin Dewar. And everybody has to scatter here at the front of the pack. Tyler Popp, first time we've mentioned his name tonight. He's up into 7th.
Tate Lytle has left the session.
Wow.
But when he left the session, it put him 232nd from 33rd in my rundown.
Interesting.
Yeah, he gained a spot when he left. So now he's sitting there needing some help. That's probably going to make Fody feel a little better, because I think Fody's probably going to be able to outscore him. So for Fody to fall out now, it just became a lot more difficult for Tyler Fody to miss the next round because of what's going on here with Tate.
Absolutely. It would be pretty shocking if Tate Lytle missed the next round too, but again, at this point, not much he can do but watch and see.
Oh yeah, and by no means am I saying it's safe for Fody,
yeah.
But it just became easier. His road and his path became easier. But there is a shot that he could miss this front. And look at everybody lined up behind Fody right now. I know this front pack is crazy, but Fody has a whole lot of friends who are trying to help him stay in the draft.
Look at this. You have Cody Harrington, Brandon Key, Michael Hossack. Michael Hossack, a competitor in the chase, also behind Fody. But everybody right now doing what they can to help push this 40 car along. And you see them. They could go out of line. They could pass the 40 car, but they're all choosing to stick behind him right now and try to push him and keep him up with this pack. This is a huge heroic effort by these other three drivers. Again, one of them is one of Fody's championship rivals, Michael Hossack. Finally, Harrington, though, dives outside.
I think they're swapping.
Yeah.
Somebody else pushed on him. This is insane.
Wow.
At what point do you pull out if you're these three guys?
Man,
you're giving up your race at this point. You are losing the draft, pushing him.
They're a second and a half now behind Gerald Campbell, who's the next car up in that lead pack. And for sure, I mean, maybe that's what it is they did lose the lead. I mean, I don't know. I struggle to think that they did lose the lead draft and decided just to push Fody instead, because it looks like they just lost it. But here we go. Nobody deciding to move out of line. Everybody fully committed to this 40 car. What a sight.
Yeah, and the 66 was committed, and maybe that jumped the other two. The 42 being last car in line, maybe he got caught there and didn't realize what was happening. But I think those other two were probably content to try to push Fody. But I am sure that 42 is like, hey, I got to get up here to this lead draft. I can't be sitting here pushing somebody that I'm trying to outpoint. It's an incredible effort by those guys, though. But Fody just isn't. That car does not have it to stay there. As you see at the front now, we have Matthew Weeks, Scott Crump, Johnny Thomas trying to pull a third lane.
Yeah, Thomas and Dewar, the only two cars up top, trying to lull some others up there with them, but actually it's Dewar who dives down. He'll swap with Personette, but yeah, Johnny Thomas not getting the support he needs up front, at least at this stage in the race, and he is going to bail back to that top, or bail out of that third lane at least.
Yeah, everybody back down. Well, Johnny Thomas says, I'm going to just try it again.
All of a sudden, it's Trevor Elam who's leading the way on this top lane. 13 of Tyler Popp trying to judge that top lane's run as well to see if he wants to hop out. Saw him just take a brief look to the outside of the 90, but right now sticking behind Stanley Crump.
And I will tell you this, right now in the session, Gerald Campbell is making sure that those guys know that Tyler Fody has a lot of damage. He is one of those guys in the playoffs trying to outpoint Tyler Fody, and he is letting those other guys know, hey, y'all need to get around that 40. What are you doing?
And Michael Hossack.
Oh, and they are.
Yeah.
Michael said, yep, I agree.
Cody Harrington.
One car is pulling away from the 3, too. That's how much Fody's pace is slowing these boys down.
Brandon Key struggling to get by the 2, though, at least at that point in the run. But yeah, Michael Hossack, though, he's kind of built up a bit of a problem for himself as of right now, because he's now 4 seconds behind this lead pack. But here we go. Fody, I think, is acknowledging it and just saying, all right, I'll shuffle to the back. And
I don't think he wanted to get to the back of that line, though.
Trying to at least stay in front there of Brandon Key. Maybe try and let the other two go ahead and push on. Brandon Key sticking back, though, to support the 40 car. Still 3 wide up front.
Yeah, and that bonus point's coming up here in just a handful of laps.
Top lane coming to life too, and you can, like you said there, that's probably why. Trevor Elam they're trying to just stay closer together, but struggling right now. Elam gets good support from Johnny Thomas, but then a big gap back to Joshua Personette, who right now is still choosing between that outside lane and the middle.
Yeah, and coming up here to that halfway mark, maybe we'll get a wreck. If so, those guys that lost the draft because of Fody maybe would owe him a thank you. They would go from being mad with him to saying, you know what, Fody losing this draft right before they wrecked, that, maybe wasn't as terrible as I thought it was at the time.
Yeah, it didn't work out. It didn't work out too bad there. As we move on to lap number 38, end of this lap. Excuse me, lap 37. So end of the next lap, we will award that halfway chase point.
Jay Canor is going a 5th lap down, so he only has 1 more lap to give here. We can say for sure Tate Lytle, as you said, 32nd. Josh Smith, Zach Evans, Andrew Rucker, Josh Robin are all done for the day. So we will get 1 lap left here on the stage when we get to the line. Do you think we'll survive this next lap?
I think we will. I think guys will be a little bit more well-behaved for a stage end, but man, I don't know. All of a sudden, that sudden shift that everybody made, and here comes the run from the top lane too. All it takes is 1 bad block, and around these guys go. But I think they'll survive at least for this point in the race. But towards the end, I'm sure things are going to get even crazier. But right now, I think everybody's still in a bit of a survival mode.
Top lane's got a big run of momentum here down the back. They've got a slow lap car out here that might pull them too. Oh, they just came disorganized. I think it might be because of that lapper.
And here we go. What are you going to do if you're that lead pack? You can't do anything, and you just get completely bottled up by the 24 car. And so now it's between Weeks and Stanley leading their respective lanes.
Coming down to the stripe, it is going to be Ethan Stanley.
Inside lane prevails there.
No, Matthew Weeks. That's who it says scored the lead there. I thought it was Stanley. Yeah, I thought it was Stanley. It looked like Stanley from where I sat, but Matthew Weeks by 1/1000th of a second.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that was Stanley too. All right, well, how about that? So Matthew Weeks then earns the stage point. And we go back to our standard racing. Now guys are going to be racing towards probably their next pit stop here, which I don't know if you know kind of what the run looks like around here, Chris. Last pitted lap 22. How long can these guys typically go on a tank of fuel?
These guys could probably run to about 15 to go.
Oh, wow. All right. So it could be a splash and dash if we don't see a caution before then. Otherwise, we could see no green flag pit stops tonight.
Yeah, they could run for, like I said, till about 15 to go. But if you got friends out here, you might pit a little sooner, closer to 20, 25 to go. I just don't know that the window will open way earlier like it will in the next-gen car. As the next-gen car, you can get 3 or 4 cars lined up and run a pretty good pace compared to the pack. This car, if the big pack is out here somewhere and you're not in it, your lap times aren't going to be as good. So right now, this lead pack, too, has dwindled down. There's just 24 cars that are a part of it, and some of those guys at the back of it are there, but they're not really in it. I would say Garrison Hogan back, maybe even in front of him, Kendall Noah Player back. So there's really only about 15 guys actually racing right now in this lead pack.
Yeah, the rest kind of just sitting and waiting almost right now. You see this single file group of cars just trailing along, staying in touch. making sure that they're there to capitalize on others' mistakes, or potentially capitalize when the big one occurs. Get those positions before the caution flag officially flies. But yeah, not really trying to compete, at least at this point in the race.
Yeah, they keep catching lappers. They're off of Fuller on the outside. It's a rough spot. David Westergreen says, let me try to run the outside by myself, see if I can't do something with it.
Yeah, and it didn't have a bad run, but you can see just how quickly it dies down without any kind of help. And he's going to hope.
Yeah, and the hole is closed. He is not going to get down. But with only 15 guys really racing, give up a couple rows, getting back in line.
And he'll slot in right here behind Johnny Thomas. That's not a bad place to be. Oh, actually, maybe not, because all of a sudden, here comes the second group, led by Garrison Hogan. And yeah, for Westergreen, you just keep losing out here until you can hopefully find a position. But everybody's just kind of blocking this 99 car out.
Yeah, I wonder what he did to make everybody mad this week. So his turn to bring, like, donuts or something yesterday morning?
Oh, my gosh, yeah, he forgot to bring it to the driver's meeting because, yeah, everybody leaving that 99 car out to drive, and he's dropped down to 19th now. So he's kind of out of this main pack of guys who are kind of dueling up front. And all of a sudden, I mean, Garrison Hogan, I feel like you just kind of triggered Garrison Hogan there because you mentioned his name as someone who's not really competing, and he said, nah, man, I'm going to go up and get it because he's now second on that outside lane, was leading the way for the most part. They pick up Chad Thirdquist, but look at the run that they have now.
Yeah, I think that was heard through the Pro Edge zip code over there. Some of those guys were like, hey, Chris Garrett said you're not running hard, Garrison. Garrison was like, yeah, let me show him I can run hard.
So Garrison trying to move up to the front for the first time today, pushing along Chad Thirnquist, who we saw him up front. He decided to bail out early on in this and is driven back up to the front.
Yeah, he's pushing. Garrison's got. Oh, he's going to turn all the way to the bottom.
Jeez.
I thought maybe he was getting in front of his teammate there, Matthew Weeks, or teammate slash almost teammate kind of situation there. But he just kept going. Got all the way down in front of Latham.
And am I correct in saying, I don't know if you know this, Chris, is Garrison, he has some experience in some higher levels of iRacing, NASCAR racing, doesn't he?
I have no idea. I do not know Garrison that well.
I think I had seen. I'd have to do some double checking, but I thought he might have been a Coke Series driver.
I could not tell you for sure. I am close with some of those Pro Edge guys. I talk to some of those guys a fair amount, but he is not one of them. Not that I have an issue with him or anything. He's just not somebody I talk to very often.
Oh, yeah.
And Jay Canorgos hit 6 lap down right here, so that should put him on the truck, I believe.
Day over for that 9 car. Yeah, update. I think Garrison Hogan, he drives at least for a team that races in that Coke Series, so outside of the Elite Racing League. So he certainly, I think, has quite a bit of wheel experience and is showing it here. I think showed it last season as well. Made the championship 4 in his first Elite Racing season, and is looking competitive here today. Is in the championship hunt.
Yeah, but I believe he came in well under the cut, right? He's probably got a win.
Yeah, let's take a look and see. I remember seeing him actually on the. Oh, he is. He's -6 to the good, at least coming into this. So he's in a must-win situation. It could pretty quickly actually find his way in if some other guys are struggling. You look at like Wyatt Canadle down in 21st, who was ahead of Hogan. Gerald Campbell, who's down in 24th right now, who was ahead of Hogan. Even, let's see, Chad Frankenfield in 9th. That closing the gap quite a bit there, but maybe not passing. But, yeah, Hogan might actually be in right now as the points stand. But tough to say for sure.
Yeah, and we still have a lot of racing to go around here. We know a caution could change everything.
Absolutely. Latham Joyner leading the way. Chad Thornquist leads that top lane that's kind of completely dispersed, though, in the last lap or so. And yeah, it's Thornquist, it's Scott Crump, it's a bit of a gap back to Tyler Popp, and then another bit of a gap back to David Westergreen. So not sure if these guys are going to merge back together. Kind of looks like they're starting to reform. that top lane, but for a moment there, it did just look like it was 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah, I almost wondered if we were going to see them run to pit road. That's what I was thinking. Like, everybody bailing out of that lane. Like, is everybody going to go ahead and pit here? Is there like some kind of agreement that I did not hear about? But I think it was just some shuffling had taken place, and now it's all coming back together as a pack. Kendall Noah player working the very top lane all by himself. Pretty far back. I don't think he's going to go forward.
A pretty big run for that, but trying to take a look. Daytona.
He'd need a 5th gear. He'd need that next gen gear to be able to pull up there by himself on that top side.
Guy out for Kendall Noah player. He has a knack for pulling off some pretty impressive wins at tracks like this. As here he goes back up again. Not too sure if he's doesn't really have anybody behind him, so not too sure what he's trying, or if he's just trying to get a feel for where he can get runs. That's something you can do when you don't really have to worry about this pack as much towards the back of each lane.
Yeah, he might just be riding right there. Just poking out, just trying to see. A lot of times when you're at the back of the pack of the lead draft and you're making the decision to ride, you're just going to try to poke out and make sure you can see what's going on. That way, if something does happen, you can react.
Thornquist bailing out of that top lane again.
And one thing I do want to point out here, we have not mentioned his name yet tonight, and he is still a part of this lead draft. It's Mark Keeler. It's a guy we don't get to talk about very often, and Mark is still, right now, up in this thing, running in the back of that lead draft. Just maybe going to wait and see how this shakes out for later.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Keeler, a great opportunity for him to score some big points here at Talladega, keeping his nose clean right now. And having a pretty good race, up 12 positions from his starting spot. And right now P18, but I mean, position really doesn't mean much in these big packs like that, because you can go from P18 to P5 in a matter of seconds sometimes at these types of racetracks, depending on the runs that you find. So, yeah, staying in touch right now, and again, everybody kind of in this lead pack, right? It's not everybody who is, maybe racing for that lead spot right now, but all the way back to Gerald Campbell, everybody here still has a shot, which is all that really matters at this point in the race for some of these guys, is just be in the picture at the end of this race, and who knows what's going to happen in front of you. I mean, how many times have we seen the lead pack completely tear itself apart, along the back straightaway, and you have somebody who was just riding along just slightly behind them, just slide on through and come out to win this race. I mean, it's not that infrequent.
Yeah, and as a driver in these races, you have little things, little checklist marks that you want to get to. You still want to be in the race at halfway. You just want to be, like, with 20 to go, part of the lead draft. You want to have a shot in the lead draft, whether that's 10 cars, 15 cars, 20 cars, 30 cars. You just want to be part of it and have a shot with 20 to go. And as long as you stay in the lead draft, you'll have a shot with 20 to go. You don't want to be where Michael Hosack is, Cody Harrington, Brandon Key. Those guys are 20 seconds behind the leader at this point.
Yeah,
and they still have Tyler Fody. Yeah.
So he's now running in the middle of this pack. But,
well, they picked up that 24 and 45. That's 2 lappers there.
Interesting one here. I wonder with the 40 car, like, are they not able to get away from him, or are they even checking themselves up to keep the 40 car with them? I'm curious about what's going on.
I would venture to say, with the help behind him, it's not as hard. He's up in the middle. As long as he stays really close, and doesn't let a gap get there, they're probably not doing anything special to keep him attached. If he were to get shuffled to the end of this line, he would not be able to stay attached. With damage like that, you need somebody behind you and somebody in front of you.
Well, Tyler Fody with his escorts around this Talladega Super Speedway.
Some not by choice, though. The 42 is not happy. He is not thrilled with the situation that Fody has put them in.
Yeah, I'm sure Hosack would like to be further up the grid now. 18 seconds behind the lead pack these guys are, and pretty quickly losing that as well. tenth or so, couple of tenths maybe even per lap, is not really what you want to be seeing. Of course, they are at least clumped together. It's not seconds per lap.
And remember, that 42, he didn't pit on the last caution. So by my calculations, he should be out of fuel at this point. Like, I don't know how much further he could go.
He's pitted on lap 10.
So he should be running out. I don't know. I don't see a scenario where he can go very much further at all.
I expect probably within the next lap or two to see this 42 car in.
I believe I am hearing the call, too, that he is going to pit right here.
So there we go. Everybody else dive into the top of the racetrack to give him plenty of room, and there you go. Timing on that call, Chris.
That's frustrating for him, though, to pit by himself.
Hoping for a caution that never came.
That might shuffle Fody into a bad spot now because he's lost help in front, and he can't push. So that's going to put Fody in a bad spot. All these guys should be able to run about 10 more over what the 42 just went.
This is what Tyler Fody probably didn't want to see here. And that's 4 chasers running 1, 2, 3, 4, grabbing maximum points. Scott Crump was already in.
Well, Fody's in a good spot. There's only 27 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah. And he's still on that lead lap. He's still in a good spot.
I just wonder if these guys are going to run it all the way out. I look for maybe some pit stops here in the next 5 laps or so. I don't know that everybody's going to want to run their car completely out of gas.
Not sure if you've been listening into the chatter there on the ground. If anybody's made any indication of when they're planning to pit. Normally, drivers will announce that on the back straightaway prior to coming in. But it sounds like nobody quite yet ready to make that call.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has said anything yet, and the fact that there's still a second lane, I don't think they're thinking it yet, but I think at around 20 to go, we're going to see somebody. Everybody would like to run about as far as they could, but 20 cars trying to pit at the same time on the same lap, that's going to be a wreck, more than likely. Some guys break earlier than others. Some guys break later. You get all that, mix it in a bag, and everybody trying to pit the same lap, and you're going to have somebody getting ran over, somebody speeding. It would be a complete mess.
Like pit stops, I'm sure they get hectic. But, man, oh man, before we get to that, before we add to potentially, or get to the part of the race where it's potentially the most chaotic, Chris, I don't know if you and Dave have been doing this, but I know me and Alex, you still have doing this on the Cup Series broadcast. We're within 20 laps to go. Of course, still so much to play for, but who's your pick right now? Who's the driver that you think is going to walk away with the checkered flag?
Man, that's so tough at this point at Talladega. I just got to pick somebody who I think is probably going to have no fear at the end of this thing. Somebody who's going to not be afraid to stick it in a hole. I'm going to go ahead and go with Scott Crump here for the end of this thing.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go off a little bit here. I'm going to pick D West, David Westergreen. It's his last race here. Could pull off something special with a win in the Grand National Series here tonight. He's been running well all night, and could see that 99 car find his way towards the front, as he's right now running 4th in that outside lane. So, of course, so many things can happen, and we apologize to the drivers that we pick in advance in case they get cursed. But we're hopefully in for a great finish to this one.
Yeah, and it's so tough at a place like this. Like you said, anything can happen. We have a set of stops left. But you doing the Cup broadcast, I am sure you have seen the Scott Crump change, right? The guy at the start of the season was having a lot of internet issues, and it's hard to be competitive with internet issues. But as soon as his internet cleared up and he got all that straightened away, I mean, he has been a threat to win, I feel like, every race that I've broadcasted since he's fixed it.
Yeah, for sure. That was always a tough thing with the 90 car is he'd be in good positions, like you said, and suddenly have those issues pop up. But I mean, in general, I think he's always been hugely competitive. I've just I haven't followed as closely in the Xfinity series, but the biggest thing in Cup was always when it came down to those last few laps. A lot of the time, somebody else would suddenly emerge, despite the fact that Crump maybe had a better race overall. Somebody would always kind of find their way to the front towards the end of the race, and Crump would come away empty-handed. And then, of course, in Cup as well, had a couple of run-ins with his teammate there in the 15 car, and I know things got pretty heated in that camp as well after some of those races last season.
Yeah, those guys, that's a pairing, huh? Him and the 15. They were going at it every week there for a while.
Yeah, and still teammates, I think, here in both Cup and Xfinity. So they've sorted things out, and we haven't seen them really work much together here at Talladega. I think generally they don't work too much together on these plate tracks. I think very similar personalities there, which don't really work out. Both of them very aggressive racers, and they'll do whatever they can to get in front, even if it's a teammate. So not necessarily a bad thing. But it's certainly, I think they've hurt each other in the past, but here they are closer together on the racetrack than I think we've seen them so far tonight.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say about Chad tonight, I don't think Chad has left the bottom. He has just stayed in line and stayed riding around. I think we're going to have some pit stops right here. Here we go. We got pitters.
Yep, so it looks like Pro Edge is that, or Toyota's at least. Well, actually, no, it's kind of a mix. It's a total mix.
Yeah, we've got Trevor Elam. We've got Matthew Weeks.
Jonathan Cutler.
Trying to look and see if I see any black flags. It looks like it's all clear on pit entry.
Good to see there. So Knadel and Elam are the two of your chasers who come down pit road. Both of them with quick-ish stops. Wondering if
this is fuel only here for sure.
Yeah.
Just needing a little bit of fuel, just about 15 laps worth. Just maybe 5-7 gallons, maybe buy a little bit extra for green white checkered.
Now we see if the next group decides to peel off. A couple of looks down.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Like you said, that was most of the Pro Edge guys.
Yeah, not too many of them in the field tonight, I guess. I realized pretty much after the fact, but yeah, Pro Edge and Fueled Up for sure. Garrison Hogan kind of the only one who's associated with that crew that didn't come down pit road, but he was running the outside, still is running the outside, so may not have been able to get down at the same time as the rest of them.
Yeah, I always like being the last group to pit. I feel like that's the best situation in these Xfinity cars, especially the Cup cars. Maybe you can pit early, like I said, and be okay because of the way the draft model is, but in these cars, I'd like to be the last group that pits.
This group, nobody pits again.
And they might be close enough to get a tow off of some of those cars out in front of them. If those guys didn't get organized when they left pit road. So there's that group.
Pretty organized up front, at least. You can see that 11 car and the 88, 29, 11, 88 are all pretty much completely locked together here right now, trying to chase down the lead pack. And are they doing it? Kind of, actually.
Garrison just got shuffled here.
Ooh.
So he's going to pit from mid to back of the pack here. As they ran up on the 03 there as well. Slow lapper. That's why I was thinking they weren't as organized as they were. We're going to have some pitters this time, though, I believe.
Oh, yeah. And actually, Garrison stays
Latham,
out.
Ethan Stanley.
Razimus. Oop, Joyner locks it up. Might have gotten that was pretty quick entering pit road. Also got Keeler, and I think that's Chad Thornquist as well, just behind.
I'm seeing no black flags. I'm seeing all clear there on pit entry. Oh, right. Jay Canor. Well, he's out. I don't know why that just popped up. Yeah, it looks clean. And I believe the rest of them are going to pit here. These other guys, they are calling out pitting down the back. So the 90, the 13, the 91, all these guys are going to pit right here.
So this is probably your last pack here to make the call. Maybe one or two, but I'd imagine this is probably your last group of guys to
This is
pit.
the pack that somebody might speed in. Scott Crump has had a lot of speeding penalties this year.
Ooh, David Westergreen. Is that right? Stays out. Oh, here we go. Dustin
Oh,
Dewar.
we've got a wreck.
Oh, boy. Is that David Westergreen? Dustin Dewar spun
Yeah.
a little bit. The 71 of David Carpenter spun, entering pit road, but it's all happening off the racetrack, so we stay green. Take a look at the Whiskey Cast replay there. What happened to these guys? Just first time you really get on the brakes all race long, and there you see it.
Looks like Westergreen. Oh, Dustin Dewar. Dustin Dewar locked up the rears, was in there way too hot. He's going to get down into Johnny Thomas.
Ooh, who then collects. Westergreen also missed his braking point, gets Tyler Pop. And 71 car just kind of gets caught up in everybody else's mess there. And Frankenfield was the guy who stayed out alone, so that hurts the 15 car massively. But look at that, pitting all alone on the racetrack, not what you want to see there for the 15 car.
But if he would have pitted right there, he would have probably been right there where that wreck was. So
yeah, that's fair. Meanwhile, Scott, not really much organization, right? Actually, yeah, here we go. This is it. This is the blend. You can see Scott Crump comes out, but it's that first group that came down pit road that are all going to file right on by.
Chad Frankenfield is coming off a pit road out in front of these guys.
Let's take a look. Here's the 15 car.
They're going to blow his doors off, though, right here in a minute.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know if he's going to be able to stay in this pack or not. He might not be able to stay connected with that.
This is the damage that one lap on your own can do, and there you see for Chad Frankenfield watching as everybody files on by, hoping that you can hang on. But there you go. Might just get saved here by Dustin Dewar.
I don't know. I think he's too far back.
So not sure if that's a miscommunication there from the 15. Or he wasn't able to commit to pit road at that point in the race, but it's hurt him for sure.
Yeah, and I'm trying to wait on timing and scoring the cycle here so we can see who's on the lead lap. Tyler Fody is still in the lead lap in 24th. Brandon Keith just got lapped. Michael Hosek is lapped. Tyler Pop.
Tyler Pop, I think, still sitting. Yeah, Pop and Westergreen both still sitting on pit road with the damage. Could be day over for the both of them.
Oh, big block here by Latham Joyner. Forced that lane to check up. Oh, Matthew Weeks gets down into Josh Personette.
Man. Everybody somehow keeps it all pointed in the right direction for now.
And that really is going to shuffle Jesse Razimus there.
Yeah, Razimus is going to lose this position. And yeah, right now just zero organization on this racetrack in this lead pack here. Trevor Elam, Matthew Weeks. Now Weeks now takes that top lane. So Elam's going to get the push from the bottom, but he might even get left out.
Oh, he's going to try to block. Can't block it. They're coming up on the slow car of Tyler Fody.
They might leave Elam out to drive here too.
And Fody's going to stay on the bottom. He called that out.
Careful here, boys.
And as they pass Fody, Fody will lose the lucky dog as well here.
Wonder if the 42 sticks behind the 40 again. What is going on here with Michael Hossack?
I think he got trapped,
yeah.
I believe.
Finally clears that 40 car, and for Hossack, he is back in this lead pack. Yeah, he's back in this lead pack, so it's worked out all right for him.
But he's a lap down. He lost his lap there, pitting by himself. Well, we've got.
Oh, yep, you're right.
Oh man, we just split the 66 down the back. The
oh
03
my gosh, this
into
is.
the apron.
This feels like a recipe for disaster here with 8 to go. Guys are all over this racetrack.
Yeah, just 22 cars on the lead lap. Scott Crump, Matthew Weeks side by side at the front.
A little bit more organization here. Bottom and middle lanes formed up pretty
The top
nicely.
lane's pretty tight right now.
Yeah, top
That's
lane,
where I'm looking for the run.
They need to get Trey Holmes a little bit closer there. Same with Jonathan Cutlip, and they are starting to close back in on one another. When they do, I think that, like you said, that'll be the lane to watch out for. But up front, it is still that bottom lane looks to just be the place to be really tonight. It was the lane that won at the stage break. And right now looks to be the lane at least ahead for now. Trying to get a run on the top.
Yeah, we will see. It's Matthew Weeks is going to pull back alongside. Scott Crump's got to be very careful not to leave too much bottom. Latham was about 3/4 of the way out right there, poking to his left rear, so just got to be careful if you're Scott to not get too far off the bottom. But at the same time, you want to push those guys up if you can, as we are about to see some of the craziest racing we have seen all race here coming to 5 to go.
I'm pretty shocked that we're still too wide. We've tried 3 a couple of times, but it wouldn't be a Talladega finish if these guys aren't running 3 wide to the line here. So let's see who's going to be the one who's daring to pull out to that outside lane and try to bring people along with them.
Well, right now they're pushing so hard that a third lane just isn't going to work. But and Scott's going to leave the bottom. He's going to pull up in front of Matthew Weeks.
Sure, I get that move there, because look at that run that Latham Joyner has right now with Ethan Stanley behind. It's even right now. I feel like that bottom lane's just looked a little bit stronger in general all night long.
Yeah, but if you pull up in front of Matthew Weeks, he's got a couple friends right behind him. They might not be teammates, but they're all, I am sure, in communication, those 3 guys. But at the same time, they could pull out and make a coordinated move on you. But the 70 is going to pull to the outside of the 29.
Here we go. So Rasmus is going to try and form this third lane. He has the support of Trey Holmes and Jonathan Cutlip.
And Scott gets back to the bottom. Now what that did is that cooled off the 03. Scott pulls back down in front of him. The 03 got all kinds of room to push now. 4 to go there at the line last time. The pushes are going to get more severe.
Yeah, look at this run from Matthew Weeks, though.
Yeah, but he lost his help. His help couldn't stay with him. The 29 pulls out in front of the third lane. Big push here in the middle.
Said it too. Elam needs a win tonight to advance. 28 points out coming into this, and all of a sudden he's leading one of these lanes. Just need a little bit more help.
Just 3 to go. I don't know if they can survive 3 laps like this as hard as they're pushing. Yeah, that third lane needs a little bit more of a push going on right now.
A few more cars need to dive up there.
Weeks
There you
gets
go.
pushed a little sideways. These pushes are getting pretty aggressive.
Yeah. Brandon Key lapped down, but joined in this top lane.
And now here comes the third lane.
Yeah. Oh, that's tight up front. They get very close together, leading these 3 lanes. But here we go, as they're going to head into the tri-oval for 2 to go. Who has the advantage at this point in the race? Man, that is close. Oh, man, I couldn't call that.
Yeah, there's 2. Oh, Trevor's going to try to pull down to the middle. He's not clear. He's going to try to pull back up. Wow.
Yeah, that's going to hurt that top lane, though. Their momentum's going to suddenly get slowed down.
Yeah, but I don't think the 70 lifted, so the 70 is going to give big push here. Oh, the inside line gets checked up there. A little off-center push from the 03 of Latham Joyner.
No advantage.
We will get
Scott
the white
Crump.
flag. this time, which lane will it be? Will they all wreck? I hope they can come back around 3x3. The big push out on the top.
And
He's going to try to squeeze down again. Matthew Weeks gets shoved right through the middle.
Yeah, how about
Oh,
all
they
of a
get
sudden
together.
the inside lane?
They got together, and that hurt their lane.
If you're Latham Joyner now, what do you do, though? Because this is another chaser in front of you.
Oh, they're wrecking. Trevor's shot to make the playoffs is over. Oh, Latham pulls out. Gets a big bump there from Weeks.
Here we go.
It's going to be Scott Crump, Latham Joyner. It's going to be up to Garrison Hogan. Oh, Garrison looks 3, but he gives a bump to the Latham Joyner. Latham's going to take the win.
Wow. So chaos on that final lap results in the 0-3. Latham Joyner victorious. And a number of cars pretty badly wrecked finishing this one. There you see that Wyatt Knadel car. Gerald Campbell. Oh man, Knadel is really damaged. That's rough there for his chase hopes. Trevor Elam needed a win to get in. Got spun around there. Another big damaged car. And Tyler Fody finishes P22 after all of that. Wow.
Yeah, so Fody's going to make it, and I'm seeing P23.
See if we can get the Whiskey Cast replay here of this this final lap and see if we can follow that incident that started. It looked like it was with the 18 car, right, of Joshua Personette.
Yeah, it was somewhere right in the middle of that pack.
Let's see what we can find back here. So here we go. Final lap. As we get to it, we're going to try and slow things down, try and understand what exactly happened here. So Joshua Personette right there in the middle lane. You get some contact there on the side with the 29, and that's where
29 was trying to shorten up his line there, get right down against him. Made contact.
Secondary incident there, the 84, the 32 coming together, the 18 getting caught up in that again, 66, Cody Harrington. We see the 54 car of Vandermeer also involved in that one.
And then up in front of them, the race for the win, there was something that happened with Latham and Matthew Weeks that Matthew wasn't happy about.
Well, you want to talk about Fody and dodging wrecks from the start of this race. Let's watch the 40 car here. This was a bit of a ride from him.
No brakes on that one.
Wide bottom there, almost got hit too, but he knew what he had to do and did it right there, and might even gain a spot here on the 42 as well. He does.
Yeah, I'm very curious if Tate Lytle is going to make the championship.
All right, so let's talk to you folks about results. We'll pull up those race results and take a look here at your race winner. Latham Joyner, Scott Crump, Garrison Hogan. Yeah, this will be interesting. Hogan was on the outside looking in, picked up some good points. Chad Frankenfield also picked up some good points to extend his lead over that cut line. Matthew Weeks rounding out that top 5. Trey Holmes, Jonathan Cutlip, Ethan Stanley, the next of your chasers inside the top 10. Vandermeer and Goodman rounding out that top 10.
Yeah, and then we got Jesse Razimus, Dustin Dewar, Gerald Campbell, Mark Keeler, 14th. I believe that is his strongest run of the year. Wyatt Knadel, Trevor Elam, Chad Thurnquist, Kendall Noah Player, Michael Klein, David Carpenter, and Johnny Thomas round out your lead lap finishers.
All right, well, let's bring in our race winner from tonight. That's going to be Latham Joyner. Latham, congratulations, man. Hectic finish there. Pretty crazy race, even up front, pretty much all day long. And you guys were scrapping it out for all 76 laps. Talk us through this. Obviously, advancing on to the next round of the chase, so that's huge there. But grabbing the win here at Talladega too.
Yeah, obviously great race with me and my teammate Scott. At the end there, we obviously found each other late. After the pit stops, we were offset in the rows most of the race. I think I don't know how many. I don't know if y'all can look real fast how many laps I led, but I led. I feel like quite a few laps, if not the most. I just like plate racing, always have. It's what I ran whenever I was a little kid on the sim, and it's what I think I'm the best at on the sim anyway. So it was fun. Garrison's obviously really good too. He finished third there. I think Weeks would have had a better finish. He was really good, and then Ethan pushed me that whole time I was in the lead on the bottom. So thanks to him for not ever leaving me during that run before the pit stops.
Now take me back to making that move in 3 and 4. How long had you thought that up, and then coming down the front stretch, it looked like you might lose it back to Crump. What were you thinking as Garrison drove up there behind you guys and deciding who he was going to push?
Yeah, well, I tried to save some temperature because that's what the struggle was. After about 2 laps of just pushing hard, you had to like lift or find clean air, and I was sitting behind him for about 5 there, 6, and I was trying to find clean air, couldn't really find it, so I tried to save, and they almost cleared us entering 1, and I had to get back with him, and as soon as I got back with him, it shot up to 270, which this thing can blow up after it hits 267 and above. So I just kind of stayed with it. I think I entered 3 and 4 about 276 or 277, something like that on temperature. So it could have blown at any time. So I just stayed full throttle into him until I realized that I could have got up. And as soon as I did, I threw it up there. And then I think Weeks lifted for me, even though I was already clear. But Garrison just had him already picked up. So it just turned him down. And then obviously with me and Crump coming along, teammates, we didn't really, he was like, you got it. And then he kind of sidetracked me. And I was like, I'm good, whatever you want. And then Garrison obviously hit me enough to where I could just pull easily back ahead there right at the line.
Yeah, and before we let you go, any sponsors you want to thank, shout out you want to give? I know you're not racing for points on Wednesday night, and you said you're doing some trophy hunting. Well, you got advanced to the next round here tonight. You're going to be able to take anything to Wednesday night that you learned tonight?
Is Wednesday not a play race too?
That is Talladega, yeah.
Yeah, I 100% count on me being up there and mixing it up with them. Obviously, they have stuff to race for like I did tonight. I think I dominated most of the race in mine. So if they're not up there trying to dominate, I think they'll probably get in a wreck. So I definitely want to go into Wednesday night with this momentum and definitely run up front with them, obviously. But as sponsor-wise, I obviously want to thank Brinkley Hefner Racing. Stay tuned to esports, obviously. Crump there at the end. Garrison during the race for a little bit. And then Ethan, obviously, for most of the race there at the end. And then, obviously, Josh Evans, Elite Cuts. Thanks to him for all the real-life stuff he does. Excalibur Racing Engines, real life as well. And then, obviously, Lowe's. Couldn't be here without him.
Well, all right, Latham, thanks for joining us. Congrats on your win there at Talladega, and I look forward to being on track with you Wednesday night.
Yes, sir. I'll see you then.
All right, Latham Joyner, race winner there. Moving on to his teammate then, second place finisher, Scott Crump there in the booth with us. Scott, P2 tonight should advance on to the next round of the championship. And I'd say overall a pretty successful run there. It sounded like you were also willing your teammate Latham there on to grab the checkered flag there. So it seems like a pretty successful night.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy he got to win there. I've been fighting for these super speedway wins. I've been so close so many times. Like that's like my third or fourth photo finish and just barely being beat out. So, but if anybody was going to beat me, I was hoping it was my teammates, and that's what happened. So.
Well, take us back through that last lap. Were you ever going to consider blocking him or anything like that? And then coming down the front stretch, obviously you weren't. Nobody was real sure what Garrison was going to do. He ultimately was the deciding factor in pushing Latham there at the line instead of you.
Yeah, I seen them move up. I moved up. I should have stayed at the bottom, I think. And once I moved up, he went to the bottom. It was too late then, so it was either a late block and I wrecked myself or something, or wreck each other. So I just figured I'd stay right there and get a top 5 finish at worst. But I knew if I had a decent finish, I'll be moving on to the next round anyway. So I was like 22 to the good with 3 or 4 people behind me.
Yeah, and you won Vegas last night, finished second tonight, moving on in the playoffs. Now you got Wednesday. You going to be able to keep the top 3 streak going?
That's the plan. Hopefully I might have to win Wednesday night to advance. So I'm right there. I think I'm like 12 points behind the cut there. So I might need a win there. But yeah. Other than that, what last night was I won by 7 thousandths. Tonight I lose by 9 thousandths. So 2 photo finishes in a row. Can't really beat that, I guess.
Yeah, and before we let you go, are there any sponsors you want to thank, shout outs you want to give before we let you out of here and get ready for Wednesday night, where the drafting will be quite a bit different than what we saw tonight?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be more teammate driven. So I think Pro Edge and them's going to have a big advantage with that. They tried working together tonight, and then I think a couple of times lap cars messed them up. Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to y'all, Rish and Chris, up in the broadcast booth. Give a shout out to my sponsor, Stay Tuned Sports Podcast, my team Latham, with Stay Tuned Sports Esports, and yeah, hopefully we can build this momentum and get to the championship race.
All right, Scott, congrats on the win last night. Congrats on the P2 tonight and moving on to the playoffs. And look forward to racing with you there Wednesday night for the Cup race.
All right, thank you.
Scott Crump, P2 finisher. And then finally, we bring in our third place finisher. Push the leader to his victory tonight, Latham Joyner. But Garrison Hogan came alive in the second half of that race. There kind of looked like you were waiting around early on. But then once you were up front, it didn't seem like you wanted to relinquish that lead at all until the very end.
Yeah, it's all about survival, right? Like I've been in enough of these to where you have to just play your cards right, but also you got to have a little bit of luck, and we had all of it tonight. I would definitely say that I shouldn't have been in that position in the first place to even be racing, where I had to kind of be cautious. But I was 6 points out coming in, and racing like that is gonna get you through to the next round. But in the next round and the other round, like I just have to do what I need to do, and I know what I'm capable of. I know a lot of people haven't seen me like they have in the past be up front or whatever. But the second half of that race, for example, tonight just shows like, yes, I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere. So it was all going to plan, but it was a bit of luck at the end. So I'm glad I got P3.
Now, Rish and I were talking up here, and we were talking about some guys riding around, and I mentioned your name riding around, and then we blinked and looked up for a second, and you were side by side for the lead. Was somebody in your ear saying that we were talking about you just riding around, and you had to make sure we knew that you had the pace to go to the front?
Nah, I honestly this year just I don't know. You guys have seen it enough. I just started the back, and all my focus is not necessarily in this league, so I'm just trying to be here for a good time. But when the playoffs came around, I was trying to turn it up a little bit, right? But I don't know, man. Riding at the back is one thing at a plate race, but coming from the back and having to ride at the back, it just took a lot of patience tonight. So I'm kind of glad that I got the result that I wanted.
All right, Garrison, before we let you go, we want to make sure to give you time to shout out your sponsors and shout outs you want to give here. I know you got a lot of teammates here advancing with you in the playoffs.
Yeah, man. Even though I'm independent, everybody knows that I'm with the Pro Edge guys. So, big thanks to them. Those are all my friends. So, they did a really good strategy, by the way, at the end and played their cards right. And they had a huge pack up there. And I believe them with their speed that they had, and me coming out when I did and not getting involved in that crash. That was really good. So, really good that they had their plan come together, and I can't thank them enough for that. 213 somewhere, of course. He has sponsored me all year for Elite. So I'll thank him as well. And then, of course, my iRacing team, Dead Zone Racing. They don't watch, but, I'm a part of them. So it is what it is.
Well, all right, Garrison, congrats on the solid P3 tonight and surviving to the next round. We will see you next week when we start the second round of the playoffs. I am not sure where it's at. Maybe
Kentucky, I think.
sounds good to me, Kentucky. So we will see you there, and good luck with the rest of your playoff run.
Thanks.
All right, that's our top three finishers from tonight's race. All seemed, I think, pretty happy with the way it turned out overall, and I think that's because all three of them, I don't know if this is official yet, but I'm looking at some preliminary points here, and I think all three of them advance on into the next round of the chase, and that's the most important thing that they came out to do today.
Yeah, and where's that cut line at?
So
Is that between Garrison and Gerald, or is it between Gerald and Wyatt?
It is between Gerald and Wyatt, I believe, heading into the next part of the season. I believe so. Unless that rule's changed recently, it should be the round of 9. It is. And so your drivers advancing to the round of 9 are going to be R.C. Enerson, Scott Crump, Latham Joyner, Ethan Stanley, Tyler Fody, Chad Frankenfield, Tate Lytle, Garrison Hogan, and Gerald Campbell. Wyatt Knadel missing out by 6 points. Michael Hossack out. Brandon Ultra out. Trevor Elam out. And David Tooker, of course, out as well.
But I will tell you this. The reason I asked and brought it up here to Rish, there was 1 point separating Garrison and Gerald Campbell at the end of this thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there really was. So
if that would have been the cut, that would have been heartbreaking.
That would have been brutal there, but yeah, it is 9 advancing. So those guys, of course, our top 3 all very happy to advance, and unfortunately for Knadel, Hossack, Ultra, Elam, and Tooker, they will not be racing for a championship any longer. For the other 9, though, they live to see another day.
Yeah, and it was a great race tonight. I did not expect to see the finish as clean as we did. I know there was a wreck over there, but it was a pretty clean race overall. We saw great racing. Any final thoughts from you, Rish?
No, I mean, like you said, we've seen, I think, a lot worse finish-wise at Talladega, so not too bad there from that front. And I mean, good racing all the way through. I mean, we mentioned maybe probably had 2 or 3 laps of single-file racing at all, and that was during pit cycles. Other than that, I mean, we were too wide the entire way through, which is what you love to see at a track like this. So, the car, the track, and the league certainly delivered the action we wanted to see tonight.
Yeah, and without those cautions, there was never any time for our sponsor reads, so I will go ahead and read those one more time for us here. We got them at the start, and we just didn't have any cautions. It was very clean. We got the green flag stops, which were exciting. We had us a little bit of a wreck there, but I want to give a shout-out to everybody at Mrs. Goody's Goodies. They have hooded towels and handmade items for babies, kids, you, and your home, and you can find them on Facebook. TA Services, for over 36 years, they have been a trusted domestic and international full-service third-party logistics provider offering freight brokerage, managed transportation, warehousing, fulfillment, and cross-border logistics services to shippers around the globe. Blue Egg Marketing, small business owners. Blue Egg is your biggest fan, and Britzy Cam. Britzy is a venture-backed tech company based in Toronto and Boston, and they are on a mission to reimagine the group photo experience. And, of course, everybody at the Elite Racing Network, Dave, Rish, all these guys that help make this thing happen. And Chad for the league he puts on. And that's going to be my last words here. I think if it's all right with Rish, we have a commercial we can show you on the way out here. And catch us next week, as I believe we are at Kentucky, is what I was told. So if that's not right, you can blame Garrison. Look him up on Twitter and blame him. Blame Garrison if it's not Kentucky. But thanks for tuning in tonight, and we will see you next week from Kentucky.